Guys, welcome back to CFNZ and the RX Movements Movement Monday. Today we're going to have a look at the hip hinge, really crucial movement to get right for heavy movements such as deadlift and technical movements such as Olympic lifting. Unfortunately with the hip hinge, if we get it wrong, what ends up taking most of the stress is our back muscles and our back and our spine. Not ideal if our back is having to round to compensate for a poor hip hinge. It creates a lot of stress and shear force between the joints in our back. Common injuries can be disc protrusions, also facet joint injuries, and it can put us out for quite a long time. All right? So it's important that we take the time to get that hip hinge right. So we're going to talk through what we want to see in a hip hinge, and we're going to talk through one of the big limiting factors, which can quite often be hamstring mobility. And we're going to look at a quick drill that we can use to help to fix that. Something that we can do regularly and definitely before we do any sort of hip hinge movement, like, as I said, your deadlifts and your Olympic lifting. All right. So if we look from a sideways point of view, we're looking at a hip hinge. Generally, we have our feet under our hips for those movements. And what we're looking to do is we're looking to send our hips backwards and keep our spine nice and flat. All right. Big limiting factor, certainly for me, is in my hamstrings. So if you have a look, I'm sending my hips back. I'm softening my knees slightly. My back's staying nice and flat. Staying nice and flat. At this point, I'm starting to get some tension through my hamstrings here. Now, if I was to go any further at this stage, my back has to take some of the movement, and then you see the back starting to round. Not only that, but when I then come back up, the first thing that moves is this hinge point here. All right? If that hinge point there is working, then unfortunately your lumbar erector muscles up here, they're the ones doing the work. They're overworking. If we have those constantly overworking, we're going to be in a lot of trouble later on down the line. Okay, we want those muscles to work to stabilize your spine. We don't want them to work to move your spine. All right. So again, nice hip hinge down to the point where your hamstrings start to feel nice and tight. Okay, at that point, that is where I have to stop. Okay. So to get any further purchase to go further down, what I would then have to do is let my knees come forward rather than trying to get a little bit further down with my back. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, hamstrings are going to be a limiting factor. So we're going to have a quick look at a drill that's going to help us out with those hamstrings. You may have seen it before in a few other mobility videos. We're going to use a band against the pole here, and I'm going to just come around to this side. So we've got the band facing the camera. Now what's going to happen, I'm going to pull this right up to the crease of the hip. What that does is it puts the top of our femur bone nicely in the hip socket. Okay, from that point we're going to come forward so there's a decent stretch on the band, and we're going to take a split stance. Alright, so heel of the front leg is at the toe of the back leg, and we're slightly softening that knee. From that point, hands on knees, and we're going to come down, keeping our back nice and flat until we get a decent stretch through the back of the hammies and in towards the back of the knee. At that point, we're going to maintain that position, and we're going to just start slowly and gently straightening the knee. We're not going to push it really, really straight because that ends up pushing into the back. Alright, we're just going to go to the point of resistance. We're going to do about 10 to 15 of those. Okay? Another thing we don't want to see is we don't want to see a rotation to allow more range. Range doesn't matter, that will come with consistency of practice. Alright, once we've done our 10 to 15, hands come across the chest. We keep the knee at its straightest point, and then we're just going to come up and down. Again, moving from the hips. What we don't want is moving here. We want that movement to come from the hips. Alright? And 10 to 15 from the top. Okay, once we've done those 10 to 15, back down to the knees, and we try and straighten that a little bit further, just into the point of tension. Okay, once we've done those 10 to 15, back up to the top. 10 to 15 here, again, just to the point of tension. Very, very small movements. Okay, and then we come back up. And we would do the same on the other side. Alright? As always, a bit of a test and retest. Now I've only done one leg. Hopefully we see a bit of a difference. Coming down with that hip hinge. Ideally what we want to do is be able to get our torso nicely parallel to the floor. You can see I've got a little bit of work to go. And then come back up again. Alright? That's our drill for today. Have a go at it, especially if we're doing any big hamstring dominant or posterior chain dominant movements. Have a play. Consistency of practice is key with this one. So ideally you want to be doing this every day if you do know that you've got some tightness and weakness issues in those hammies. Have a play with it. Comments, experiences to the comments below, any questions you may have. Otherwise, we'll see you next week for more Mobility Monday, and you'll have guys back. See you then, guys.